Welcome back to Stories of the Dark. Today, we explore what happens when unstoppable force meets corrupting world as Omni-Man of the Viltrumite Empire arrives during Azeroth's darkest hour. This is the story of how the world's greatest conqueror discovered that some worlds don't break, they change you. How every blow against corruption spreads it further. How choosing between Alliance and Horde means nothing when old gods whisper and the Legion burns and death itself reaches out with cold fingers. Watch as Viltrumite perfection meets every form of transformation Azeroth offers. From field corruption to void madness to the curse of undeath itself. And if you genuinely enjoy this kind of dark storytelling, consider subscribing and liking the channel, but only if it truly resonates with you. The world was already ending when I arrived, not in the way Viltrumites end worlds, not with surgical precision and calculated conquest. This was different. Messier. The very earth screamed as something massive tore itself free from beneath. I had punched through the dimensional barrier expecting resistance. Military forces. Heroes. The usual desperate last stands. Instead, I found a world tearing itself apart. The sky burned orange and black. Not from my entry, from something else. Something that roared with such primal fury that even from the upper atmosphere I felt it in my bones. A dragon. But not like any creature from the conquered worlds. This thing radiated wrongness. Its very presence made reality bleed. Deathwing, they would later tell me. The aspect of death, the destroyer, as if titles could capture what I witnessed that day. I descended through ash and flame. Below, cities crumbled, not from external force. The earth itself rebelled. Fissures opened like hungry mouths. Lava erupted from wounds that should not exist. And through it all, that massive black shape carved destruction across the horizon. Each wing beat brought earthquakes. Each roar shattered what little remained whole. My orders were simple: assess, conquer, integrate. The Viltrumite Empire had detected this world's unique properties. Multiple forms of energy, magic they called it. We had encountered such forces before. They always fell to superior strength and strategy, but this was not magic as I understood it. I landed in what remained of a human city. Stormwind, the survivors called it. Half the district was gone, not destroyed, gone. Swallowed by chasms that hadn't existed moments before. The air tasted of sulfur and despair. Soldiers in plate armor tried to maintain order while civilians fled toward a massive keep. They saw me land, a figure in white and red, unmarked by their catastrophe. Some dropped to their knees, others raised weapons. All of them reeked of fear. Then their king arrived. A boy, really. Couldn't have been more than 20 Earth years. But his eyes held weight, the kind that comes from watching too much death. He wore armor that gleamed despite the ash. Light radiated from him, not metaphorically, actual, tangible light that pushed back the darkness. Another one, he said. His voice carried exhaustion. Are you with the Twilight's hammer? The Black Dragonflight? Or something new come to feast on our suffering? I could have killed him instantly. Should have, by Viltrumite protocol. Eliminate leadership. Establish dominance. Begin integration. But something stayed my hand. Perhaps it was the way he stood between me and his people. No fear. Just resignation mixed with defiance. I am Omni-Man of the Viltrumite Empire, I announced. This world now belongs to us, the boy king actually laughed. Not mockery, genuine bitter amusement. Get in line, he said. The Burning Legion claims it. The old gods whisper it's theirs. The Scourge wants us all dead. And now Deathwing seeks to burn everything to ash. What's one more would-be conqueror? Before I could respond, the ground shook again. Not from Deathwing this time, something else. The Boy King's light flickered. The elementals, someone shouted. They're in chaos. The earthen ring can't hold them. I watched these people scramble. Soldiers who should have been fighting me instead battled living flames that emerged from fissures. Priests chanted desperately, their light barely holding back shadows that moved with purpose. And through it all, that Boy King coordinated, commanded, never stopping, Anduin Wrynn. I would learn his name later, along with so many others. I rose into the air to observe. The scope of destruction exceeded anything I'd witnessed in 1,000 conquests. This wasn't invasion, this was unmaking. The very fabric of reality had wounds. I could see them, tears in space where things that should not exist pressed against the boundaries. Then I met my first real opposition. She came from the north. Fast. Not Viltrumite fast, but impressive. Purple skin, long ears, riding some sort of mechanical construct. But what caught my attention were her eyes. They burned with fell green fire, the same corruption I'd noticed in patches across the landscape. "You picked a bad day to invade, whoever you are," she said. Her voice dripped venom. "I am Demon Hunter Kalara, and I've killed things from beyond the stars before." She moved, faster than she should have been able to. Blades of pure fell energy extended from her hands. I caught one. The energy burned. Not my skin, something deeper. It tried to corrupt, to twist, to remake. Interesting. I shattered her blade with a squeeze, but she was already moving, already adapting. Metamorphosis, she called it. Her form shifted. Demonic features erupted. Wings, horns, power that came from somewhere else. Something she'd taken into herself. We fought above the burning city. She couldn't truly hurt me, but she wouldn't stop. Each time I struck her down, she rose. Each broken bone brought transformation. She was burning herself alive with power, and she didn't care. "Is this all you have?" I asked, holding her by the throat. She smiled through bloody teeth. "You have no idea what's coming. The Legion is infinite. The void is eternal. The old gods were here before the cosmos. And you're just meat that hasn't realized it's already dead." I dropped her, not from mercy, from calculation. These people fought while their world ended. They faced cosmic powers I could feel pressing against reality's boundaries. And they kept fighting. The Horde arrived as I stood among Stormwind's ruins. Not to help, to take advantage. Orcs, trolls, and creatures I had no name for yet. They saw Alliance weakness and struck. Even facing extinction, they fought each other. "Pathetic," I said to no one. That's when he spoke to me. Not with words, with thoughts. Ancient, vast, amused. Another would-be god comes to play. How delightful. The whisper came from everywhere and nowhere. It tasted of madness, of endings, of truths better left unknown. "You think yourself strong, Viltrumite, but strength is nothing here. Here we trade in corruption, in transformation, in the slow dissolution of everything you think yourself to be. N'Zoth, the old god, the corruptor, the thousand names that should not be spoken. Have you ever wondered which of Azeroth's corruptions would claim them first? Drop your theories in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in thinking about this." His tentacles were not physical. They pressed against thoughts, against certainties, against the core of what made me Viltrumite. And for the first time in centuries, I felt something I'd thought burned away. Uncertainty. The world continued breaking. Deathwing carved another city from existence. The elements raged without masters. Undead poured from Northrend. Demons probed weakening boundaries. And these mortals fought, not united, not efficiently, but with a desperation that transcended logic. Garrosh Hellscream led the Horde's assault, a brown orc bearing Gorehowl, an axe that sang death. He saw me floating above the battle. Our eyes met. He smiled. Not a pleasant expression. "You there, floating warrior. You fight with strength alone?" I descended to face him. "Strength is all that matters." He laughed, deep, appreciative. "Then you understand. These Alliance weaklings hide behind their light and their diplomacy. The Horde knows truth. Strength rules. Power conquers. Blood and thunder." He reminded me of Viltrumite philosophy. Pure, uncomplicated, survival through superiority. "Join us," he offered. "Together we could end this faction war. Unite Azeroth under proper rule." I considered it. The tactical advantage was obvious. But something else pulled at my attention. The way his own soldiers looked at him. Fear mixed with loyalty. The seeds of something darker. Above us, Deathwing passed. His shadow brought madness. Soldiers on both sides fell writhing. Some clawed at their eyes. Others began attacking their allies. The dragon's corruption spread like plague. And I realized something. This wasn't a world to conquer. This was a world already conquered. By powers that made the Viltrumite Empire seem small. By corruptions that transformed rather than destroyed. By cycles of violence that fed things better left sleeping. The smart move would be to leave. Report the world as unsuitable. Too chaotic. Too costly. But I didn't move. Because in that moment, watching mortals fight against gods, against corruption, against their own ending, I saw something I'd never encountered in 1,000 worlds. They knew they couldn't win, and they fought anyway. The first corruption attempt came from the light itself. A human paladin, scarred and desperate, grabbed my arm as I surveyed the battlefield. His touch burned with holy fire. Not against my skin, against something I didn't know I had. A soul, perhaps, or whatever Viltrumites carry in place of one. "The light can save you," he gasped through broken teeth. "It can burn away the darkness before it takes root, before you become like them." He meant the undead. They had arrived during the battle's chaos. Not the mindless Scourge, but the Forsaken, free-willed corpses serving their Banshee Queen. They moved through both armies, spreading plague, converting the dying, offering a different kind of immortality. I pulled free from the Paladin's grip, but the light's touch lingered. It wanted in, wanted to remake me in its image. Pure, righteous, blind. Your light is just another corruption, I told him. He laughed. Mad, broken. Everything here is corruption. The only choice is which master you serve. Sylvanas Windrunner proved his point. She appeared without warning. One moment empty air, the next a figure of terrible beauty and worse purpose. Dead eyes that held consciousness, pale skin that had never known warmth. She studied me like a specimen. Viltrumite, she said, tasting the word. I've heard whispers, an empire of living weapons. How boring. Life is so limiting. Her banshees circled above. Their wails tried to tear at something beyond physical. They wanted to rip the connection between body and spirit. Make me like them, free from life's burdens. Your power is impressive, she continued. But power without purpose is masturbation. What do you fight for, alien? Glory? Conquest? The spread of your empire's ideology? Strength, I answered. The strong rule. The weak serve or die, she smiled. An expression that belonged on no face, living or dead. How wonderfully naive. Here, the strong become corrupted. The weak persist through transformation. Death is not an ending, it's a doorway. Let me show you, she moved. Not with physical speed, but with the inevitability of entropy. Her touch was ice and endings. Where her fingers pressed against my chest, I felt something impossible. Cellular death, not damage, death. The complete cessation of biological function. Viltrumite cells don't die. They regenerate. They persist. They endure, but hers did. And for a heartbeat, mine wanted to follow. I threw her back. She dispersed into shadow and reformed, laughing. You felt it. The pull. Everything dies here, Viltrumite. Even things that shouldn't. Even things that can't. That's Azeroth's gift. We make the impossible inevitable. The ground erupted before I could respond. Not from Deathwing this time. From below. Deep below. Tentacles of Saronite. The crystallized blood of Yogg-Saron pushed through reality. They whispered. Not in words. In concepts. In reformulations of truth, you are already ours. You just haven't realized it yet. The old god's influence was different from Sylvanas's death magic. It didn't attack. It suggested. It revealed. It showed me truths I hadn't asked to see. Every world the Viltrumite Empire had conquered. Dead. Empty. Purposeless. We were a cancer spreading across the universe, consuming everything that might have meaning. We were entropy's servants, dressed up as order. No, that wasn't true. That was the whisper. The corruption, the attempt to remake my perspective, but knowing it was false didn't make it stop. Thrall arrived with the earthen ring. Shamans, trying to contain the elemental chaos. The former war chief looked exhausted. His connection to the elements flickered like a dying flame. You're making it worse, he said, not looking at me. Your presence, it's alien. The elements don't know what you are, so they rage harder. He was trying to bind a fire elemental. The thing burned with rage that transcended heat. It wanted to unmake, to return everything to primal chaos, and it saw me as an anchor, something that didn't belong. Can you help? Thrall asked, desperate. Your strength, can you hold it while we bind it? I grabbed the elemental. It burned, not my hands, my concept of self. It wanted to reduce me to component atoms, to scatter me across the elemental planes, to make me part of Azeroth's fundamental chaos. The shamans chanted. Their magic wrapped around the creature and around me. For a moment, I was part of their circle, connected to Azeroth's pain, to its sleeping world soul, to the wounds that would never heal. I felt everything. The old god's tentacles wrapped around the planet's heart, the legions of fellfires burning at reality's edges, the Scourge's necromantic cold spreading like cancer, the Void Lords pressing against dimensions, wanting in, and beneath it all, a sleeping titan. Azeroth herself, dreaming, dying, becoming. The connection broke. The elemental was bound, but I remained changed. You felt her, Thrall said. It wasn't a question. The world soul, she's why they all come. Legion, void, death. They want to claim her before she wakes, or corrupt her into something else, and you protect her. He laughed, bitter. We try. Alliance, Horde. We fight each other while cosmic forces position for the real war. We're insects arguing over crumbs while gods prepare to feast. If you had their power in Azeroth, would you choose Alliance, Horde, or stay neutral? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading them. Garrosh had been watching. The Horde leader approached with his generals. Orcs, Tauren, trolls, goblins, Forsaken. Each species carried their own corruptions. Fell taint, curse of flesh, voodoo madness, chemical poisoning, undeath. You're strong, he said simply. I respect that. But strength without direction is waste. Join the Horde. We'll give your power purpose. I've heard the Alliance offer the same. His expression darkened. The Alliance offers weakness disguised as virtue, peace through submission, order through tyranny. The Horde offers truth. We are what we are. Monsters, survivors, the abandoned and transformed. But we're honest about it. Behind him, something moved in his shadow. Not his shadow, something wearing it. Y'Shaarj's influence. The dead old god that wasn't quite dead enough. It whispered to Garrosh, feeding his anger. His pride, his certainty that might made right. He didn't know he was already corrupted, already on the path to becoming everything he claimed to fight against. Just like me. Because I could feel it now. The changes, subtle, insidious. My Viltrumite cells, supposedly perfect, were adapting. To the fell energy in the air. To the void whispers at reality's edge. To the death magic that permeated everything. To the light that wanted to burn away doubt. I was becoming something else. Deathwing chose that moment to return. The destroyer landed with the force of a meteorite. The ground cracked for miles. His eyes leaked void energy. Old god corruption had driven him mad eons ago. Now madness had become purpose. You, he said, voice like grinding stone. Alien, outsider, would-be conqueror. Do you know what you've walked into? I floated to his eye level. Even for a Viltrumite, he was massive. And wrong. His body was held together by elementium plates. Underneath, his flesh constantly tore and regenerated. He was dying and undying simultaneously. I see a broken world, I answered. He laughed. The sound shattered what windows remained intact. Broken? This is the beginning. The hour of twilight approaches, when the old gods rise, when the Black Empire returns, when everything burns and is reborn in beautiful corruption. You could serve. Your strength would make an excellent general in the new world. I serve no one. Everyone serves someone here. The light, the void, the legion, death, life, order, disorder. Choose your master or have one chosen for you. His breath washed over me. It carried whispers, promises, visions of what I could become, not just strong, transcendent, a fusion of Viltrumite perfection and old god transformation, immortal, immutable, insane. The vision was beautiful. And terrible, and tempting, but before I could respond, they arrived. The dragon aspects, or what remained of them. Alexstrasza, the Livebinder. Izera, lost to dreaming. Nozdormu, watching his own corruption. Kalekgos, newly empowered and uncertain. They came not for Deathwing, they came for me. You don't belong here, Alexstrasza said, her voice carrying the weight of ages. Your presence disrupts the patterns. The corruption spreads faster around you. You're a catalyst. Then I'll leave. Too late, Nozdormu interjected, his bronze scales flickering between present and future. You're already part of the timeline. Multiple timelines. In some you save us. In others you damn us. In most you become something neither Viltrumite nor Azerothian. Something worse. Ysera spoke from her half-sleep, eyes clouded with emerald nightmare. In the dream, I see you dying in infinite ways. Each death births something else. You cannot remain what you are. No one can. Not here. They were right. I could feel it now. The transformations weren't just external pressures. My body was adapting, learning, incorporating. Every blow from fell magic left traces. Every whisper from the void taught my cells new patterns. Every touch of undeath showed my immortality, different paths. I was becoming native to this broken world. The realization brought rage, pure, clean, Viltrumite. I shot skyward, breaking the sound barrier repeatedly, trying to escape, trying to outrun what I was becoming. But Azeroth's corruption wasn't something you could flee. It was in the air, in the magic that permeated everything. In the very concept of existence here, at the edge of the atmosphere, I met them. The Burning Legion, a field portal torn open, demons pouring through, not to invade. They were fleeing, running from something worse. A dreadlord, wings broken, fell blood streaming from countless wounds, grabbed at me with desperate claws. You're strong, he gasped. Help us. The void. It's consuming everything. The Legion burns worlds to deny them to the void. But this world fights back. This world corrupts even us. Behind him, through the portal, I saw it. The truth of the cosmos. The burning. Legion, infinite and terrible, was just another faction in an endless war. They destroyed to prevent worse things from taking hold. And they were losing. Sargeras himself was mad, driven insane by the knowledge of what waited. The Void Lords, entities that made old gods look like insects. They wanted into reality, into existence, into everything, and Azeroth was the key. The Dreadlord's touch carried fell corruption. My skin turned green where his claws scraped, not damaged, changed. The fell energy didn't just burn, it offered power, purpose, a place in the Legion's infinite crusade. I tore free and descended back to the surface, but the changes accelerated. My white and red uniform was staining, black from void whispers, green from fell touch, purple from arcane exposure, gold from lights burning, blue from death's cold fingers. I was becoming a living testament to Azeroth's corruptions. In Orgrimmar, Garrosh had made his choice. Y'Shaarj's heart pumped in the depths. The dead old god's power flowed through him. He stood transformed, still orc in shape, but wrong in every other way. His tusks dripped void. His eyes held madness disguised as purpose. You see, he roared to his followers, this is true strength, not the fell corruption of our past, not the shamanism that failed us, but the power that was here before the Titans. Before Order, when strength was the only law, his horde was fracturing. Some followed into corruption, others resisted. Vol'jin spoke against him. Thrall tried to reason, but Garrosh was beyond reason. He'd found his master, even if he called it freedom. Join me, he offered again. Together, we could remake this world. Your strength and my vision. We could end the Alliance, end the Legion, end everything that divides us. I saw what he couldn't. The Shah manifestations growing from his anger, his pride, his hatred. Negative emotions given form, spreading through his followers. They thought they were growing stronger. They were just becoming food for dead things that should stay dead. In Stormwind, different corruptions spread. The light grew desperate, brighter, harsher, burning away doubt and free will alike. Priests became zealots. Paladins became executioners. The boy king Anduin struggled to balance mercy with survival. We could use your strength, he said when I returned. Not for conquest, for protection, for hope, but his light reached for me, wanted to purify, to remake, to transform me into something that could only see in absolutes. Good, evil, light, void. No space for anything between. Both sides offered corruption disguised as salvation. Then the Scourge arrived, not attacking, recruiting. Bolvar for Dragon, the new Lich King, spoke through his Death Knights. His voice echoed from Frozen Throne to my mind. You interest me, Viltrumite. Immortal, but alive. Strong, but unchanged. You could be the perfect Death Knight. Imagine your strength powered by undeath. Free from life's limitations, free from corruption's pull. The dead don't change, they simply are. But that was a lie too. The Death Knights were changing, always. Death magic didn't preserve, it transformed, slowly, inevitably, into something that served death itself. Every faction wanted to claim me, to transform me, to make me proof of their ideology's superiority. But I was already changing without their help. My fists, which could shatter mountains, now carried traces of every energy I'd encountered. When I struck, Fellfire followed. Void whispers echoed. Death magic chilled. Light burned. The elements raged. I was becoming a nexus of Azeroth's corruptions. The old gods found this hilarious. N'Zoth whispered constantly now. Not trying to corrupt, just narrating. Describing each change, each adaptation, each small death of my original nature. You came to conquer. Now you're being conquered, cell by cell, thought by thought. You're becoming native, becoming ours. becoming nothing and everything simultaneously. I wanted to deny it, but the evidence was overwhelming. My beard was streaking black and green. My eyes flickered between colors. Red, Viltrumite rage. Green, fell fury. Purple, void madness. Blue, death's cold. Gold, light's certainty. When I flew, I left trails of corruption. Where I landed, the ground changed. Not destroyed, transformed. Like everything here, the final revelation came from an unexpected source. Chen Stormstout, a Pandaren monk, wandering through the chaos with remarkable calm. "You're fighting the wrong battle," he said, offering me a drink. Ale. Simple. Mortal. "You think this is about strength versus weakness, order versus chaos, but that's not Azeroth's nature." Then what is? Transformation. Everything here changes, has always changed, will always change. The Titans tried to impose order. They created the curse of flesh. The old gods tried to impose chaos. They created resistance. The Legion tries to impose ending. They create defiance. Everyone who comes here thinking they'll remain themselves leaves as something else. Or doesn't leave at all. He nodded. "You're strong. Probably the strongest single being I've seen. But strength here isn't about power. It's about adaptation. About choosing your transformation rather than having it chosen for you. And if I choose to remain Viltrumite, then you'll break. Or break everything around you trying. Either way, you become part of the cycle. Another would-be conqueror ground down by a world that digests gods." He was right. I could feel it. My very presence was accelerating Azeroth's corruption. My strength drew darker things, bigger things, hungrier things. The Void Lords paid attention now. Sargeras turned his burning gaze this way. Death itself grew curious about what I might become. I had 3 choices. Fight everything. Try to remain pure Viltrumite. Fail. Become another cautionary tale. Choose a corruption. Join a faction. Transform into their vision of strength. Or, I rose into the sky one final time. Not fleeing, observing. The world sprawled below. Broken, burning. Beautiful in its agony. Factions fought while reality bled. Heroes fell and rose as villains. Villains found redemption in sacrifice. And through it all, mortals persisted. Not through strength, through transformation, through adaptation, through acceptance that corruption was just another word for change. I made my choice, not alliance, not horde, not legion or scourge or old gods or light or void. I chose to become what Azeroth needed, a deterrent, a guardian of corruption rather than against it. I would let every force mark me, transform me, change me, and in doing so, I would become something none of them could claim. My transformation wasn't dramatic. It was gradual, deliberate. I sought out each corruption, learned from it, incorporated it without being consumed. Fell rage tempered by Void's patience, light's certainty balanced by Death's pragmatism, order and chaos existing simultaneously. Garrosh called me a traitor to strength. Anduin called me lost to darkness. Sylvanas called me a fool. The old gods called me amusing, but I was none of those things. I was what this world created, a living weapon transformed into a living paradox, too corrupted for any single faction to claim, too powerful for any to destroy, too transformed to ever leave. Viltrumite Empire protocols demanded I report. Classify the world. Recommend conquest or abandonment. I sent nothing. Let them come. Let them experience what I experienced. Let them learn what strength becomes in a world where everything transforms, where corruption is evolution, where falling is just another way of flying. I float now above the maelstrom, where Deathwing emerged, where the world bleeds eternally. I watch. I wait. I guard against things that would end everything, not from heroism, not from villainy, but from understanding. This world doesn't need another conqueror, another faction, Another corruption. It needs witnesses to its transformation, guardians of its right to destroy itself slowly rather than all at once. My name is Nolan. I was Omni-Man of the Viltrumite Empire. Now I'm something else. Something Azeroth made, something that shouldn't exist. I'm proof that even perfection can be corrupted, that even corruption can be perfected. That strength means nothing in a world where everything changes. The invasion failed the moment I arrived. Not because I was weak, but because Azeroth doesn't conquer, it transforms.